cousin, somebody asked me, about books that I want to read again. Hold the line, I got it. Hi friends, welcome back to Show Me the Book Club. I am Show Me Monet, and in today's video, we're going to talk about books that I would like to reread. And most of these are in a specific genre. So I think I could probably make this video again and again based on genre. So if y'all would like that, let me know in the comments and I will do that for you. Let me know what the next genre is you would like to see. And if you like to hear, here you go. Before we get started, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and do all of the things. Everything talked about in this video will be listed down below in the underneath bar. It is called the underneath bar because it is underneath of the video. If you just happen to click that button, amen, all the things that you are looking for are in there. Let's get into it for real this time. These are in no particular order, and one author is mentioned twice. But so what? Y'all asked the question, I'm answering it. Dang it. Let Us Descend by Jesmyn Ward. I think about this book all of the time. Because you know how genius you have to be to write a whole book with a quote from Dante's Inferno in your mind? And to map out the path that the character takes to be a similar route of like the descent into hell. Do you know, not the Muffin Man, but Jesmyn Ward? Do you know her? I think about this book often. I think Let Us Descend is not only a study in grief, right, but it's also a study in the importance of the relationship that you have with your mother and how that relationship imprints on you and the things that you do or the things that you don't do and the woman or the person that you become later on down the line. This is a phenomenal book. I want to read this again. Trinity by Zelda Lockhart. My God, today. Talk about writing. Y'all don't talk about this book enough. Y'all don't talk about this book enough. And I really think this is one of those books that went over y'all's head. Like, I don't think y'all understand what's actually happening in this. Trinity tells the story of a family through generations from the perspective of a spirit that is waiting to be born into this family. This spirit has lived before in this family line, therefore knows the trauma that this family is experiencing and why. It has to be born to make everything come into place. I don't even really think I grasped the amazingness that is Trinity, the writing style, the way that the story is told, the way that the black men are spoken about, and the way that their trauma is talked about in this book. I don't even think that I got it for real. And I be in here reading. Y'all don't talk about this enough. This comes out in paperback this year. I believe during the summertime. Y'all need to get this. Y'all need to get this. I will put on the screen somewhere when the paperback comes out, because I will be getting another copy. I will be yelling into the void that y'all need to be reading this. Another book that y'all don't talk about enough. Coleman Hill, Kim Coleman Foote. This is a biomythography. Biomythographies intertwine biography, mythology, and fantasy, I believe. Let's double check that. I'll put the definition on the screen. Anyway, this tells the story of a family's migration from the South to the North. And it really kind of challenges the idea that it is like separating a family or running away from the South really the thing that is going to better our generational wealth, or just is that going to cure our generational traumas if we move away from the South? Because that implies that racism only takes place in the South, and that the things that we face in the South are only compartmentalized there, which is inaccurate. It's inaccurate. This is written, it feels like a collection of short stories because we get a lot of different perspectives of how certain things affected certain family members, right? And I think what I remember the most, enjoying the most, is it really personifies that idea that we all could be raised by the same two parents in the same household and have all different kinds of experiences. That's important because my parents are not the same parents that my sisters had. Something to think about. Next up, I see a lot of you guys reading this right now. I will be rereading this soon because the second part to this came out this year, which is called Isaac's Song. I actually have a copy of it right here. Isaac's Song. Don't Cry for Me is a father who is dying. He is reflecting on his life and his relationship with his son and how his past traumas made him the father that he was to his son, which maybe wasn't that great of a father. Black men, it's okay for you to be vulnerable. Baby, it's okay. It's okay for you to self-reflect. And I want you to do it before you are facing death. I want you to heal in the present so that you don't have to make up for your shortcomings with your son or your daughter or your wife or whoever else in your family is being affected by the traumas that you won't feel. It's okay. And I think reading this book will help you see that. I think for me, one, I haven't gotten to see a lot of the older men in my life be vulnerable in this way, right? And I understand why. I understand why Black men aren't vulnerable. I understand why Black men aren't vulnerable. I understand why Black men aren't vulnerable. I would like to see it more because y'all deserve to be loved and healed, not just because you need to provide or not just because we need y'all to be a certain way, but because you deserve love and peace and all of that, just simply because you exist. This might be your gateway for that. This was phenomenal. Daniel Black is one of my favorite authors. There isn't anything that I've read by him that he's written that I did not thoroughly enjoy. Phenomenal book. We Are a Haunting by Tyreek White. I love magical realism. I really do. This is one of those books that when I first read it, I enjoyed it and I knew that it was good, but I don't think that I enjoyed this book in the way that I should have, or really understood it the way that I should have. I don't think I did, and that's fine. That's why we'll reread it. This tells the story of a boy whose mom passed away, and we get the different perspectives of him grieving his mother, but also what her life was like, with touches of magical realism and the different things that she went through with her spirituality and life and trying to figure things out. This book won a lot of awards. It is well written, doesn't even really begin to approach it. I think often magical realism is approached from a particular perspective, and I think seeing the magical realism through the eyes of a grieving child is really important. Even the mom, and the things that she went through, I need to read this again. I need to read it and sit with it and sink into it, Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward. I told y'all one author was on here twice. She is my all-time favorite author. She is up there on my list with Toni Morrison, with Ta-Nehisi Coates, with Zora Neale Hurston, with Percival Everett, with the list could go on, right? She is very high up on my list. I think this is the one that I didn't spend enough time with. And I need to go back and do that again. So this one, it says, they heard it on the radio. A hurricane is coming, threatening the town of Boys Savage. Probably ain't saying that right. Mississippi. Esh's hard-drinking father can feel it in his bone. Esh and her brothers are trying to help prepare, but there are other worries too. Yes, this one mimics Hurricane Katrina, because Jesmyn Ward lived in New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina, and I remember vividly the scenes of the storm. But again, I didn't spend enough time with this. Like, I knew that this was a good story when I first read it, and I read this when I first was getting into reading again. So a lot of the talent and the skill was going over my head. A lot of it was going over my head. Like, I wasn't really I wasn't paying attention for real, right? Like, I took this in at surface level, and this is something that I just need to sit with it more. Because even as reading the synopsis, the things are coming back to me. I vividly remember the scene during the hurricane and her brother and his damn pit bull. Jesmyn Ward writes stories that transport you. I haven't read any of her books that didn't feel like I was in the book with them. Last but certainly not least, we have The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. I talk about this book a lot. I talk about this book a lot because it is transformative. And I think that y'all use historical fiction being heavy as an excuse to not think critically. I think you guys have a particular perspective that is one-sided, so that you can only see things from the perspective of how they directly make you feel, and not from the perspective of all the possibilities of the other meanings and how it could possibly make other people feel, or what the impact of the book was supposed to be, and so on and so forth. And because of that, I don't think you guys appreciate books like this. The Prophets is a historical fiction that tells the story of two slaves that are gay, and they love each other, and they are a bit ostracized for it on this plantation because they are quote unquote weird. And I think that bothered a lot of people, because I think this idea of gayness and the fact that our ancestors, albeit they were slaves, I think y'all struggle with seeing them as human. I think y'all struggle with the idea that they were sexual beings and that they were gay and hypersexual maybe, or like didn't want to have sex at all. Like they had this whole gambit of emotions and experiences, but you only can see them as their trauma. So when you read something like this, it's so far-fetched, right? Because a lot of y'all also think that queerness just happened in the last, like recently, like it was made up recently. Like people haven't been living all this time. And I think what I got out of this, right? And I'm not a queer person, right? Listen, if I could date somebody other than men, I would. Because have you dealt with a man recently? Child, I tell you, my God, today. The one man told me, he said he write books, and he said that he don't read books at all, because reading books and writing books don't have nothing to do with each other. And y'all expect me to go outside and procreate with motherfuckers like that? I was triggered. All I'm saying is, books like this help us bridge the gap between seeing our ancestors as only their traumas and seeing ourselves as people that are having unique experiences. Our experiences aren't as far removed from them as we would like to think that they are. And that's why things like this make you uncomfortable. That's why y'all don't give books like this enough praise, right? Because this book speaks from the perspective of the ancestors, right? It speaks from the perspective of our ancestors, like from them being like us. They weren't only their trauma, just like you aren't only your trauma, right? But I also think in order to, I'm asking a lot, right? I'm asking a lot of you because it's a journey to even see that you yourself are not just the horrible things that have happened to you. So if you can't see that in yourself, who are me to expect you to see it in our elders and in our ancestors, right? It's a journey. It's a journey. That's why it's also important to read diversely, right? Because then you get different perspectives. That's why it's important to not only get your information and your feelings from only nonfiction, right? Because nonfiction is going to give you fact, whereas fiction is going to take that fact and humanize the people that the facts are about. Okay? I can hear y'all hitting y'all keyboards real hard. Y'all tapping in the comments real hard right now because I done said some stuff. Y'all know I always get on here yapping. If you made it this far in the video, let me know which one of these books that you've read already, or if you are interested in reading in any of them, maybe with me. Maybe we'll do a little side quest in the book club. Maybe. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. If no one has told you today, I love you. You are kind. You are smart. You are important. If to no one, to me. Bye, friends.